Welcome to YBTV, the place where you'll find all the musical greatness that Young Voices has to offer, but from the comfort and safety of your own home. Today, we are chatting to someone special. He is the editor-in-chief at Guinness World Records. Now, that's with good reason, because Young Voices has been breaking records since 2001. And in 2021, we're going to go for breaking some more records of our own. But I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a minute. First, let's say a hearty hello and welcome to Mr. Craig Glenday. Hello, Craig.
Hello, Gigi. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you doing?
I'm good. Yes, it's not. I would much rather be there in person, but this is a good start, isn't it?
But you're in the kitchen, which means you must have a cup of tea. That can't be too bad.
Yes, I'm actually at home at my parents' home up in Scotland. So normally I'm in London, but I've come up to Scotland probably now for the rest of the years, just to see them and to form a bubble. And yeah, it's nice.
So you get to spend Christmas with them.
Yes, which is quite nice. So
very nice. So Guinness World Records is famously known, it's this annual best-selling series. You've sold 130 million copies, and you've been the editor for a very long time, since 2004. But I'm kind of feeling like this year, this book, the new one that's out for 2021, is going to be one that you're going to remember for a very long time, because you've had to compile it in really quite extraordinary circumstances. So just tell me how global restrictions and quarantines and lockdowns has affected the business of breaking records.
Yeah, well, it started off well. So we all headed into the 2021 edition, full of enthusiasm, as we always do, really excited by the opportunity to showcase as many new records as we could. And of course, about halfway through the process, it all went a bit wrong. And things started drying up. I mean, there's still a huge appetite for record breaking, but we did definitely see a drop, as you would expect, in things like mass participation records. So records that specifically involve lots of people squashing into small spaces to do various like dances, or particularly to form the shape of something. So like maybe form the shape of a bicycle or a company logo. All of that stopped.
Right.
And people took to their homes, and we thought, we're never going to get this book finished because there's not enough material. But of course, people being forced into their homes are then able to focus on the things you can do at home. So actually, we found that we're still getting maybe just under 100 applications a day from around the world. So normally it's about 1,000 a week. But 100 a day still is a pretty healthy amount, and people are finding ways to break records. Especially things like fitness. So if you're a fitness fanatic and you're stuck at home, then you might as well use the time to get yourself fit. And maybe people who collect things would think, maybe now's the time I'll do an audit of my collection and actually count my 10,000 erasers. Or spoon rests or tea bags or whatever it is that you might collect. So that's another interesting route. So yeah, people are finding ways. I think humans are always inventive and will always find a way to record what they do. And we'll always be here to record it, whatever state the world is in. So it's what's also fascinating for me is that we provide a snapshot of the world over the last 65 years now. So if you look back through all the various books, you get a sense of how the world is moving and changing. And this book will be forever remembered as the COVID-19 edition. Because we had to leave the office. We've all had to work from home. We've had to deal with people not being able to break the records that they were planning on breaking. And also how we opened up the idea of breaking records online and virtually to make it more possible, and that's itself created a whole new series of records, like online quizzing has been a big one, or exercising. So that's out of this terrible situation, we're going to have changed how we do business and adapted and modernized, and that's why Guinness World Records is still here after 65 years, because we are reflecting what the world is doing. We're not dictating it, we're just holding a mirror up to what people are doing. So we'll take on any challenge. Yeah,
I love that. I love that. And speaking of which, you talked about fitness a bit there. You presented 2 new records to 2 of our British national treasures. One is Sir Captain Moore, and the other is Joe Wicks. Let's talk about Captain Moore first, because what he really wanted to do was, raise £1,000 for NHS charities together, and he decided he was going to do that by doing 100 laps of his garden before his 100th birthday, which was in April 2020. But it just became much bigger than him, or much bigger than he could ever have imagined, and out of that he got 2 Guinness World Records, and not because he raised £1,000. What actually happened?
Well, in the end, this caught the public's imagination, didn't it? It was the story that we all needed to help us get through this really awful period. And seeing this inspirational old man who fought in the wars and just seemed to have really grasped life and done all these amazing things, was using that attention he was getting to raise money, and wow, he did it. So you think of £1,000 goal, and he's ended up now over £28 million later. So it is an incredible thing for one person as well. So there have been bigger charity pushes and over even shorter periods, but for the fact that one person can make all that difference is something that we definitely had to celebrate. So we were there. We were like, yes, Paul, we want to meet up. We couldn't meet. So normally what we would do, we would ratify the record. We would go there in person and hand over the certificate. But it didn't happen that way because, of course, we were all in lockdown, and with his age as well, particularly conscious of. So we did a certificate presentation from home. So I virtually presented, literally handed it out the screen one way, and then he would receive it the other way. I did give us the chance to celebrate his record, and we got him in the book, which is great. And we also got him on the cover, so you'll see just right down there at the bottom. Can you see that? There he is.
Oh gosh, yes. Very cool. Yeah, very cool. Very cool.
We managed to squeeze him in and got into the book. So yeah, we were very happy with that. It just shows you that you don't have to let old age be an issue. You can still achieve great things no matter how old you are, young or old.
Yes, very cool. And we mentioned fitness, and well-known body coach Joe Wicks decided, we were all thinking, how are we gonna stay sane, locked up, cooped up, for weeks on end? And he decided he was going to become the PE teacher for the nation and keep us moving and inspire us to keep moving indoors, right? And so when you talk about sort of all the fitness that we've been doing, I think he himself has also got a world record, so much so that at one point, I think he had an accident and he broke his hand, his hand, and he carried on. He felt so compelled to keep us moving. He carried on doing these daily live streams, even with a broken hand. And as a result, a broken hand isn't all he broke during lockdown, is it?
Exactly, yeah. So he was doing this amazing PE session. I might have tried a couple of the exercises.
Did you?
I'm not really built for that kind of work, not that time in the morning as well. But nearly 1 million people did join in regularly, and then on his most watched one, it was almost 1 million people. So it is the most viewers on a YouTube platform for a workout. So he's got us all up and going. We're inspired by him, inspired by Tom, and again, it was a really positive story and one that you could be part of. That we could all take part in this record and think we're doing our bit for our own health, but also to mark this horrible event that's happened this year in a positive way, and just get something good out of this. And you know what? If it's making people get up and exercise and they're still doing that, then it can only be a good thing.
Absolutely. I've been looking through this year's book. I've never had one before.
What?
I know. But I think the surprising thing for me was that there is something in there for everybody, because I think what happens is you think about the tallest, the longest, the fastest, the biggest, those are the things you kind of think of when you think of Guinness World Records, right? And so, if I said to my cousins or my, nephews or whatever, they're looking for maybe the grossest things or the weirdest things. But actually, you know, it spans everything from nature to humans to animals to gaming, pop culture, you know, technology. It's all in there. And so before I actually started looking through the book, I thought to myself, okay, think about what record, if I was going to break a record, right, what would I want to break? And I really had to, I was like, what, you know, what would I want to do? And I genuinely thought, I know, I would like to break a record for the most interviews over the longest period of time ever, right? Well, blow me down. No, and I'm not kidding you, that when I looked through the book, I certainly wasn't expecting to find anything like that. But sure enough, the longest marathon TV talk show, 72 hours, 5 minutes and 11 seconds on German TV. Yeah. I was most upset, and now I am determined I'm going to break it. Right?
Well, you've done exactly what we hope people will do, which is that they read the book and they think, wait a minute, I could do this. It's not easy. I mean, it might sound simple when you see certain things written down, but when you actually look into it, when you apply and get the record rules and the guidelines that you must follow,
yes.
We're very strict on all these things. And it makes you realize, wow, it's a challenge, but you've done exactly what we want, which is find something you can do and think, I can do better. Because if everyone did that, we'd all become better at everything. You know, we'd run faster, climb higher, we'd learn more, we'd achieve more amazing things. So you do it, break that record, come on.
So you've been doing this for quite some time. So tell me, that's the sort of thing I would like to do, but tell me some of your favorites from this year's issue, so 2021, and also maybe just in general from all time. You know, what have you seen that's really kind of got you?
Yeah, I mean, my favorite records, I think, probably, as with many people, are the human body records. And as the editor-in-chief, I do sort of get to choose who I get to adjudicate as well.
Right.
Choice. And I've been really, really lucky over the years to meet some of the most amazing characters, you know, physical human body record holders. Like I've measured the last 4 now, I think, tallest ever living human beings.
Wow.
The shortest. So Jyoti, for example, Jyoti Amji, who is in this year's book, she is in our Hall of Fame this year, and she's the shortest, and shortest in terms of mobile and non-mobile.
Right.
Well, we have categories for those that aren't ambulatory, and Jyoti has both records. And the chance to get to meet her and hang out with her and bring her to the office and just get a little taste of what it's like to live in her world is when you're 2 foot tall. You know, what is that like?
Yeah.
It's a real privilege, really, for me. And I look back on all these ones, the fingernail records, which I love. You know, when I was a kid, I was entranced by the idea of growing your fingernails. Like, why would you do this? And now I get to meet these people on a daily basis. It's the strangest thing. So.
And do you ever ask, why do you do this? Do you ever sort of feel empowered to do that?
Oh, yeah, because I think I can come at it with them from like a child's point of view. And I think it's really important that we all view the world like a child views it, with that big open-eyed innocence, and not be frightened to ask the questions. As long as you're not rude about these people or disrespectful, I think it's fine to say, why have you done this? Like, why are you doing this? Like Lee Redmond, who had the longest fingernails on both hands, she had almost 1 meter long per finger. So she had almost 10 meters of fingernail. And like, why would you do that? Why would Sridhar Shilal, he had even longer nails on just the one hand?
Right.
He did. He said because his teachers at school told him he would never amount to anything. He said, you're too distracted, you're looking at the window, you're not paying any attention, you will amount to nothing. So his response was to say, okay, well, I'm going to prove you wrong, and did that.
And do something.
He chose to grow his fingernails. Fine. And he had to be dedicated, because to get your fingernails that long and to live a whole life with these things is dedication. But to me, that's fascinating that people choose that lifestyle. I mean, some have no choice. If you're the tallest living man or tallest living woman, you've got no choice about it. But you've chosen to grow your fingernails, or you've chosen to do whatever the thing is. But to me, it's all about pushing yourself to new levels if you can. And what we do is we say, well, why don't we celebrate people who do this? Because there's not enough celebration in the world either. So the Olympics has a very small number of things which they see as being important.
Right.
They don't look at someone who can, climb the Eiffel Tower on a pogo stick, for example, or on a space hopper. That's as physically challenging. It still requires the same degree of physical and mental strength to achieve these things. And just because a group like the Olympics don't celebrate it doesn't mean that we do. And that's what you mentioned earlier about the breadth. That's why we say we want to recognize everything across the whole spectrum of what the world is. And as long as we can apply certain criteria and rules as to what is a record, or what particularly is a Guinness World Records title, then we'll do that, because it helps define the world as well. So I think if you're a kid, especially that 8 to 12 zone, when you've come out of infancy and early childhood and realized you're not the center of the universe, that you're part of a bigger universe, then you're suddenly making all these amazing discoveries about what is in the world. And everything is fascinating. And the sad thing is that many of us lose that fascination with the wider world, and we narrow down our thought processes as we get older. So we're trying to say, no, keep that mentality alive of the joy of discovering, the joy of doing something. Even if someone else thinks it's stupid or pointless, it doesn't matter, because it's you achieving the thing that you set out to do. And it could be climbing Everest, or it could be finishing Mr. Potato Head in the fastest time. Whatever it is, it's just about getting into that mindset of always learning, always improving, and enjoying the world and the time that we have. So that's a very long answer. I just realized to the question.
But it sort of encompasses exactly what for me Young Voices is about. Like you say, it's maintaining that sense of wonder. And so if you have been part of Young Voices, or you were going to be part of Young Voices this year, and of course we're not allowed to do mass gatherings in 2021, and so it's kind of like, well, you have to be creative and you have to open your mind to other ways of doing things. And so one of the things that's exciting about that is, even though we can't gather as thousands and thousands of people in 2021, what we're going to do, the exciting news with Young Voices, is the Young Voices Biggest Sing. So we've already got one Guinness World Records for the biggest simultaneous sing. We're going to try to break that again, and we're adding to that because next year's our 25th anniversary, and of course, as you can imagine, we had all these amazing exciting things planned. So we've had to change the amazing exciting things to something more amazing and exciting. But we're also going to go for the record for the most people signing during of a song. And so what's happening on February 2nd, 2021 is, normally we would be at the O2, everybody would be there, we would be singing, large crowd, massive choir, massive audience, but we can't do that. So very special performance is going to take place of Lovely Day, which is a song that I believe already has a record set for it. Do you know what that record is?
Well, yes, it's a slightly interesting / controversial record, because the very long held note.
Okay.
But it is a record that has been beaten, I'm afraid.
I see.
In terms of the longest vocal note held on a recording. So with a studio recording record, and we did find someone called T Green of the UK, who performs a note that lasts 39 seconds. It's a very long held note. So that's what we've got recorded now as the record, which actually beat a song from 2011, which lasted 36 seconds
right
on the other side of the rainbow. So yes.
Okay.
Oh,
Well,
which is
Lovely
interesting.
Day is the song we're singing, and we're going to be joined live at the O2. We're doing a live stream with Billy Ocean, Yolanda Brown, and Ruti, and we're going to hopefully break the record by getting everybody to join in who would normally be there and then some. So the record we currently hold is for, I think, over 290,000 people simultaneously singing at the same time. That's the Young Voices' biggest thing. We're going for 300,000 plus. At this point, guess what? We have 250,000 people signed up already to participate, to help us with these Guinness World Records. So, of course, you know, if you're going to participate in a record, you need a bit of commitment, you have to have some talent, and you really have to be specific about what you're doing. But from a Guinness World Records point of view, there are very specific requirements, and there are things you have to do in order to participate, and therefore, you know, make sure that you can verify that you have completed the task as said. Just explain to us some of the things that you have to do in order to be part of this Young Voices' biggest thing.
Yes, as you guys all know, Young Voices did this attempt earlier, 293,000 people taking part. It's a lot of people to organise, so we have to have very strict rules, and every record has a series of rules that you must follow. We have criteria that must be met for every record on an individual level as well, that we need you to do certain things, like we need you to read the guidelines, make sure you understand the instructions. We'll probably ask for things like photography and video of the record attempt, so we've got an accurate record of what happened on the day. We'll need independent witness statements to make sure that you followed the guidelines, and it has to be independent, so you just can't just get your mum to do it. You also probably need stewards as well. Normally we'd have stewards to help with the counting. We get the account audited. But the key thing, ultimately we say the key thing is read the guidelines, because you don't want to get disqualified at the end of the attempt because you've missed one little thing. I have every faith that you will do this, guys. You will do it.
Well, you know, our Young Voices choirs are very well behaved. They're good, you know, at participating, and so we're looking forward. So we need as many people to sign up as possible. We have 250,000 signed up already. We're going for 300,000 plus to beat our own record of over 290,000. And of course, what I'm really sort of loving as well is the two records include signing. So there's even more interesting things to do. And the thing is, right now, we are all very much aware of our mental health. You know, we've been cooped up for a long time. We've had issues, all of us, that we don't usually have on a regular basis, or that they've been exacerbated by the fact that we have been, you know, sort of cooped up for a long time. And so one of the great things about our event on February 2nd in 2021 is we will also be raising money for a children's mental health charity called Place to Be. Place to Be has been looking after, for over 25 years, children's mental health, both in schools, doing training and counselling for teachers. And we really want to support that, particularly at this time, particularly because we know that music is one of the best ways for us to kind of keep managing our mental health. Singing, it's all good for us. But when you think about all of the sort of big events, like you say, you know, there'll be people wandering off or whatever. With something like Young Voices and the biggest thing, what do you think is one of the best reasons for people to sign up and participate in this one in particular?
Oh, I mean, I think being part of something that's much bigger than you is very important. I think, as you say, doing something with music is so helpful. I feel blessed that when I was a young boy, I learned to read music and play instruments, and I think it's been a lifesaver. I'm missing it now, not getting to play in my bands now, but still, it's a great thing to learn music and be part of something like being part of an orchestra, for example, is a great experience. But imagine being part of a 300,000 people choir and then getting goosebumps just thinking about it. And you're right, for mental health, it's really important. And just to be doing something positive in a time that you might otherwise to see as being full of bad news. The reality is that no, there's lots of really good things happening, and you can be part of it. So I would say it's a great cause. I think raising money for charities also, I mean, lots of people do record breaking for charity reasons, because it adds the extra layer and gives you another reason to sing about what you're doing. Well, literally, in your case, but I think it's really good fun as well. Ultimately, just being part of a record attempt, because it's not something you do every day. So why not? You should always do something every day that you haven't done the day before.
And one of the things that I think is joyful about this as well is we've also got back into reading and into books while we've been in lockdown, right? I know we've watched a lot of TV, but we've also read read a lot of books. You know, people are sort of talking about that. And one of the things I love about the Guinness World Records book is that it's family orientated. So it's something everybody in the family can share and take part in, you know, even kind of come up with your own things that you want to do as a challenge yourself as a family. But I think in particular this year, it's a great memento of this time. So, you know, it's a great gift. It's also sort of something you can say, I was there and I survived. But how do you get hold of a book? Like, how do you get hold of the book?
Well, if you can't get out to the bookshop, so every good bookstore should have copies. They normally have stacks of them in the windows and inside. And if you can't get to a bookstore or a supermarket who also stock them, then go online, either to the bookstore's online web pages or to Amazon, and there you'll find this year's, in fact, all the other books as well, but that we've done. But this year, yeah, go on Amazon and get it delivered, so you don't have to leave the building.
Right. So just before we wrap up, actually talking about the book, the last thing I will say is not everybody, even though you might have your Guinness World Records, not everybody ends up in the book, do they?
Yeah.
So how do you make that choice, Ray?
It's probably the hardest part of the job, I have to say, is coming to the final choice of who makes it in every year. We have this huge oversupply, so we get maybe 4, 5, 6,000 records broken every year, amazingly. Either new records or updating old records. But there's room only in the book for about 3,500 to 4,000. So there becomes a horrible task of having to say, well, maybe next year.
Right.
And we have themes. So the theme for this year, we had this idea of discover your world, which is possibly the wrong year to be talking about going out and discovering things, but you can still discover it virtually. But that idea then helps us to curate the product. So what goes in? Does this record fit this year? Is it a suitable book, suitable record for this year's book? And anyone who doesn't get in the book, you can still get onto the website, at least at guinnessworldrecords.com. Right. You'll still be featured, because we want to sing about this and celebrate it. And you find records work, some work in the book, some work on TV shows much better, some work in live events. Just the different, it's horses for courses, I suppose you would say. Right. But we think of the book as being, you know, the best summation of our year in record breaking. And I can guarantee, which I never do, I never guarantee these things, but I will guarantee you now on record that we will definitely get your record from February. If you make it, we'll definitely put it in the book. There,
you just knew that was going to be my next question. Is so how do we get it? What's the theme?
I know that's where it's going. Yeah, that was all that hint was, isn't it? Hint, hint, hint. We get it.
Indeed. Well, we love it. I'm so glad I asked that question and you heard it here. So, Craig, thanks so much for spending some time with us today at Young Voices at Home. Stay safe, stay well, stay safe, and we look forward to seeing you for Young Voices' Biggest Sing.
I'll be there. I'll be adjudicating from a distance.
Awesome. And of course, we know you're amazing, but we want to make it official. So make sure you sign up for the Young Voices Biggest Sing. All you have to do is go to youngvoices.co.uk and there's a button to click on there. That means that you'll get all the information you need to sign up. Also, stay safe, stay well, and stay close to us with Young Voices at Home.